Hey, Emily.
Hey, Stephanie.
You want to do a podcast?
Absolutely. Welcome to Cycle Chats, a podcast to destigmatize what it means to be a woman. This is our special Halloween episode, so get ready for a spooktacular conversation about candy, costumes, and memories. Let's get rolling.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm totally going to put in, if I can figure it out with my technological or whatever it's called, disadvancements, I'll figure it out.
You could also use that sound clip that I just did.
Yeah, just again and again in the background, really, really faintly. Is there a ghost? Well, yes, there is.
Why, yes, there is. So let's talk about ghosts, because I feel like
that's one of my questions.
Yeah, we've talked about belief in the supernatural. I've had some pretty weird and wild experiences. I guess I can share a real quick story. I was staying with my childhood friend and she was house sitting. The mom said, no problem, you can stay over. There's a little dog there. So when I walked in, I just felt very uneasy. And I was like, maybe because it's a new house. I don't know. And there was just one section of the house specifically that I just felt like I was being stared at. So that night, we're watching TV, whatever. We turn the TV off, we go to sleep. As we're sleeping, I kind of half woke up and I saw what looked like the figure of a woman, kind of like a Victorian lady. And what sparked me to open my eyes was that I felt my covers being pulled and I thought it was the dog. And then all of a sudden, as I'm looking at this figure, I hear this gigantic scream. And so I wake up, I hit my friend. I'm like, what the hell? And she goes, what the hell yourself? Why are you screaming? And then we thought it was the dog. And we look over at the dog and he's like halfway across the house and he's just standing there. And we look at each other and I'm like, what was that? So it wasn't the dog pulling off my covers. Definitely was not the dog that made a human woman scream. So we're up, we're staring, we're like, we're going to take this dog out and we're going to get the hell out of here. Take the dog out. We dip. So the family comes back. My friend's like, oh yeah, we think your house might be haunted. Ha ha ha. She's like, oh, she tells her little kid, she's like, why don't you go outside and play a little bit? She goes, yeah. So we didn't want to tell you, but we've had a priest come in and bless this home because apparently in the room that I was looking at that felt uncomfortable, that there's a woman that had died there years and years and years ago. And apparently she does not like anybody near that part of the house. She always does stuff to the kid. My friend calls me and she's like, you will not believe what just happened. She's like, so I think we were actually experiencing something. I said, never again. You can go watch that house by yourself. Never again. It was so scary and I will never forget it ever for the rest of my life because it was just a bizarre experience that happened with another person. And we were both like, I thought it was you that screamed. No, I thought it was you that screamed. And then we thought it was the dog and the dog doesn't make that noise. So scary. Anyway, so that's my
that's your ghost story. I like it.
Ghost story that just lives with me rent-free all the time.
So yes, I definitely believe in ghosts because I believe in the idea that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So something has to happen to us after we're gone from this world, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to see them. So I think I have a boundary set for the people on the other side where I don't want to experience seeing them, but I've still had interactions with people from the other side. So in my house that I grew up in, which was my mom's house that she grew up in, it was my grandparents' house. My mom had a brother and he passed away. He unfortunately died from a really terrible accident, literally outside of their house on the back patio. He was standing outside or playing or something. And they were redoing the patio outside with bricks and bricks fell on him and he basically died instantly. Yeah, it was awful. He was, I think, 11 years old. So because he died so young, I think he has unfinished business. So I would always feel his presence. It wasn't malicious or anything. It was always very trickstery in the house. So growing up in my room, I would always lose my remote and I'd be like, where's the TV remote? And I was like, I can't find this thing. And I'd look around. I'd be like, listen, I know I'm messy as a 14-year-old or whatever, but I couldn't find the remote. And then I'd go downstairs. I'd be frustrated and I'd open the refrigerator and he'd have put the remote in the refrigerator. So I'd always find my remote in different places. So that's my personal experience with having him misplace my personal items, always being the remote though, which I thought was really interesting. But listen, hey, as an 11-year-old boy, if you're have some unfinished business, I'm assuming that you want to play tricks on people.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. So then, but I know my brother, my oldest brother, Zachary, has seen ghosts. So he was walking our dog Babe at night. I believe it was Babe. He was walking her and it was pretty late, he said, and he saw a woman standing in the middle of the street and there was headlights coming, at the woman at a pretty rapid speed. And he screamed to her. He was like, "Hey, ma'am, you have to get out of the street." And she didn't hear him. So he screamed a little louder. He was like, "Ma'am, there's a car approaching. You should get out of the street." And she turned her head, looked at him. The car went through her and she vanished. Which is weird because I wouldn't feel like Zachary had a connection and like would want to see that, but I guess he didn't maybe have that boundary set because I think you do somewhat have to be like, no, I don't want to see you. I'm able to communicate, but
totally 100%. Because when I was younger, man, I used to just let it all in. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, and it was never that I saw anything actually in my, physical awake state, but dream wise, I felt like I don't know. I just felt like I had a wide open door. And then once I realized, I'm like, I'm going to have to learn to say no. I actually bought a book from the book fair. It was like Poltergeist and how to interact with poltergeist or if like you're haunting or whatever. And I just thought the ghosts were really cute on the cover of the book. And then as I started to read it, I was like, oh my God. And they're like, you have to say no. Like you have to set a boundary. And I'm like, oh, I've not been doing any of this. And so very much so I was like, you are not welcome here. I can't help you. I send you towards the light, whatever you have to say. But I'm like, no way, Jose. I'm not interested in any of this.
No, I don't think if I saw it, I don't think I'd ever be able to go back to whatever my reality is.
I've only had that one instance where I felt like seeing the outline of that lady, which is absolutely horrifying. I've not ever had that sense, but I will tell you that sometimes when you walk into a room, you can just feel, and there are times where you'll walk into a space and I'm like, I feel really uneasy here. And I just think that's because, I think when you're a little bit more sensitive to that stuff, you are, I would say generally for the most part, more open to experiencing it. But no, I make it very clear that I'm not interested in seeing diddly. But I mean, relatives have come and visited me in dreams, and I think it's just easier for me to process, and that's fine. But no, I'm super not interested in anything malintent or malicious. I'm like, nah, dog, can't help you. You got to go find somebody else. I'm good. I'm not a professional in this.
Exactly. No, I think I'm going crazy. But so my other ghost story, because like I said, I personally choose not to see them. If they want to play, funny tricks or whatever, like my uncle, like my uncle did, but fine, hide my remote and the TV. I'll accept that. But I was working backstage at a summer theater festival, and the woman that I was working for, we got pretty close. I mean, literally unchanged and changed this woman and changed her wigs. And you get pretty close to somebody after a few times of changing them and seeing everything they got. So she was telling me, we were talking about ghosts for some reason. I don't know. And she was telling me that her house is actually haunted. So she went downstairs one night to get water because it was built, I believe, in the 1940s, the house. And it used to be people would come and play cards and kind of gamble and everything. So she went downstairs to get water one night and the ghosts were partying, she said, and they were gambling. And she was walking through, she thought she was they weren't interacting with her, but she was walking through her own house as they were playing cards and drinking and doing all this. I cannot even imagine more than one. I mean, clearly none of them had malintent. It was just, so I don't know. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. That's my own personal opinion on the matter.
And even if you don't believe in it, it's still kind of a fun lore to get involved in. I think
of course it is.
Brings this spooky season spirit alive,
Exactly. So we covered if we believe in ghosts, which is, hello, Halloween checklist number 1. So I want to know what your favorite Halloween costume you ever had was.
Oh, that's so tough because as I'm sure everybody knows at this point, we are theater gals and we both did costume design. And so at a very young age, I was prepping months ahead of time. I would say probably my most worn costume was Mr. Mistopheles from Cats. I have countless photos of me as Mr. Mistopheles. And so that was my most done up costume. My favorite one that I've ever put together was Alice and the Rabbit. So it was Alice in post-apocalyptic scenario. So she got bit by a radioactive rabbit and she was turning into a rabbit. And I will probably, when this episode airs, I can post a picture on the story.
I was going to say whatever costumes, if we could post them on the stories. So if you don't know, we do have an Instagram. You can check us out at Cycle Chats and you'll see a bunch of fun pictures of Stephanie and I probably dressed pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. So that was probably I would say one of my pride and joys. I won first place at a Halloween costume contest. So that was super cool. That felt good. But there's so many good ones. I've been Gomez Adams.
Oh, I loved that one. You did so well. But you and a mustache is really just perfection. Okay. So of course I wrote these questions, so I have my answers ready to go. So it's really hard because when my husband and I got together, it's fun when you meet somebody who also enjoys dressing up and doing all of that stuff. So our second year together, we dressed up as Dwight and Angela from The Office because we had also gotten our first cat that year, Simone. And I was like, we need to use the cat in some way. And if you don't know, Angela from The Office loves cats. So got the blonde wig, did it upright. Miguel did it upright. I got his shirt. I mean, it was really good. And then we held the cat. So once again, I will definitely post that picture. And then we've also done Dipper and Mabel from Gravity Falls. And that was super fun. I really enjoyed that. And we used the cats. We had two cats we still have two cats. We have Squash and Simone. And that year we had the cats dress up as Waddles, the pig that Mabel has. So they were very unhappy with us, but I always try and use the animals because it's super fun. And then 2 years ago, we did Bill and Ted. So Miguel was Keanu and I was Bill and he was Ted. It was perfect because my husband kind of looks like Keanu. So he shaved his beard. I did the guy thing. It was super
I was
fun.
there for that one.
Time.
I was Gomez. Yeah.
You were Gomez that year and Rebecca was Morticia and Esme was a rose.
She was. We taped a rose to our friend's cat's back and she was the rose.
So I love using animals. I think it's really fun. I'm excited for this year's costume. I'm not going to say what it is, but you have to check stories. We'll also be using the animals again. But yeah, I love dressing up. I've dressed up ever since I was little. I always enjoyed it. And trick-or-treating was always super fun. I mean, hey, free candy. You better believe that I was there. So then my next question for you, Miss Stephanie, is what your favorite Halloween memory is.
It wasn't one specific memory. I think it's just a whole ritual of getting ready to go trick-or-treating, dressing up, all that. I will also say, rest her soul, my grandmother loved just parking in the driveway with a chair and that bowl of candy. And she'd be like, oh, the little babies. Like she loved children. And she would snatch babies right out of strollers. I'm like, Grandma?
Oh, my dad still does that today. And I'm like, you can't do that anymore. They're going to think you're stealing their baby.
They're like, no, the little bit. And she always used to call them the little boompies. They're little boompies. And so I think just everyone was, I think, more excited about Halloween because I was excited about it. So it always felt like it was my holiday, which, fun fact, I was supposed to be born on Halloween. And I did not find that out until I was probably about 10. So I never understood. I had this like intense love of Halloween. My mom's like, yeah, you were supposed to be born on Halloween. But alas, I decided to sleep in for a week. Emily had a great response. She said, yeah, your first Halloween costume was a baby. I was just a fetus for Halloween. So that was my first ever Halloween costume, was a fetus in my mother's womb. I got to chill. I didn't have to walk anywhere. I got carried the whole time.
You got free candy. You didn't even have to eat it.
Absolutely.
It was ingested through somebody else. I mean, hey, that's the life. You're living in a sweet jacuzzi in there. It's funny because I think about Halloween now and like I have two nieces, Scarlett and Sadie, and they're 9 and 7. I don't think Halloween is really the same for them as it was for us growing up. Like, I remember spending hours going to different houses and getting candy because unfortunately the world was a little bit safer back then, and it's not so safe now. And I think parents are much more concerned about their kids ingesting candy from strangers and taking candy from strangers and walking around. And like, I get it, but it is upsetting because in my memory, I have memories of like literally the streets being flooded with children on Halloween. And it's really not that way anymore. Like, we always prepare every year for trick-or-treaters and we rarely get any, which is disappointing. I love like opening the door and being able to hand out candy. I loved being on the opposite receiving and getting the candy. So it's definitely upsetting to me some respects because I think about, okay, well, like maybe in 5 years down the line, I'll have a kid and I'll definitely dress up forever the rest of my life. I don't care how old I am with the kid and Miguel, and like to not be able to have them have that same experience that I had of walking around and like,
yeah, it's disheartening. I don't know that it was necessarily safer back then. I just think like the internet, and we talk about social media, has just kind of added this whole extra layer of, I guess, awareness that wasn't there before, which is great in some aspects. But I also think it's a little bit of a negative point because you become so aware. I think it was fun, you know, it was like, hey, eat that piece of candy, see what happens. You know, we're all right for the most part, I think.
I didn't eat candy that was opened or anything. I only ate candy that was closed and it had been sealed.
Did your parents check your candy before they let you eat it?
They checked it with me. Like I would help.
Yeah, same.
But they would.
We dump it all out on the ground.
Exactly.
And then we kind of go through it. My mom would pick out the pieces that she thought maybe looked a little funny.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. I clearly never had an issue. Yeah, it makes me sad because like one of my favorite Halloween memories, because I would go trick-or-treating with my oldest brother, Zachary. Literally, I could not have better older brothers than I have. They were always including me in everything. And Zachary's 10 years older than me. Why would he want to hang out with me? But he did. So he took me trick-or-treating with my friends one year and his friend. I think it was Danny. Yeah, it was Danny. We went trick-or-treating with Danny and Zachary and my friends Alexa and Megan. I was Superwoman, or yeah, Supergirl that year. And we were walking around and I must have been like maybe 11 or 12. So at that time, or maybe even actually younger, because Zachary probably wasn't away at college yet. So I take that back. I was probably younger. I was probably like 8. So he might have been 18. So we're walking around our neighborhood up and down, and these two people keep following us. We're like, who are these humans? And they're like in masks and we can't tell, but they're going to exactly the same house that we're going to. It's super weird. I felt safe enough though. I was with my older brother. I didn't feel concerned. And we finally, like after a half an hour of being followed by these two guys in masks, we were a little concerned. So my brother was like, hey, who are you? And he, turned around and they take off their masks, and it was my brother's two friends. They were like, hey, and they were just kind of playing a Halloween trick on us.
Yeah.
No malintent. It was just it was super fun. I enjoyed that. It was like, who are you?
Get away from me.
Get away, you weirdo. So then, hey, what's going on? So that was fun. I still have a picture of that somewhere. If I can find it, I'll post that too, because it was definitely really fun that year. I remember that because, I don't know, it kind of added a little bit of the spooktacular sensation of what Halloween is.
I think that Halloween is the time for the dead, so to speak, to come out and play. The spirits like to have fun.
Oh, yeah.
Again, you have to make sure that you're allowing in the correct ones. But for the most part, anything harmless like that, a little prank, somebody moves something, there's a sound in the house, you feel it out.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you just have fun with it because that's the whole ambiance of the holiday.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's why I like it. It's weird and it leads to weirdos. Hello, my people. So now I want to know if you have a favorite Halloween movie. And if so, what is it?
Halloween Town, the original. Yes.
That's literally what I have written down.
That's amazing. No, because I always say Nightmare Before Christmas, but that's just, here's the thing. Nightmare Before Christmas, I cannot categorize. People are like, what is it? Is it a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie? I'm like, it's both. Move on. So I take that out. That to me is just a standalone, but specifically Halloween Town was my world. I love that movie so much. That was my childhood.
That was my childhood.
Every year when Disney Channel would make that switch to Halloween, and like Halloween Town was like the first movie and the big pumpkin, and all I ever wanted to do was just go visit it, because I think don't they do that? They resurrect it every year, or they
Do they? Because then we're going.
yeah, I think it's in, I could be totally wrong. I may have to look this up, but I think it's somewhere in Massachusetts, or maybe I'm thinking of,
Hocus Pocus?
yeah, because I did see the house from Hocus Pocus when I went to Boston. Somewhere in the world, I think they put the Halloween Town pumpkin out, and you could like take pictures with it.
That movie was life-changing for me too. Every year I would watch it. I wanted to be a witch because of it. I thought it was
Me too.
such a good family movie and just such a good story. And the costumes were super fun. The first one is definitely my favorite. But sadness, my husband, who is a 31-year-old man, had never seen Halloween Town until last year. I was like,
you need to leave him.
I know I'm divorced over Halloween Town, but I showed it to him and he loves it now. So we'll definitely watch it again this Halloween, because I mean, it's so good.
What's your favorite part in the movie? I wonder if we have the same one.
Oh, I don't know. I always, so I'll tell you my favorite characters. I really always enjoyed Benny, the cab driver. He was super funny. I just love the way they did him. Like the makeup in that and the puppetry, and just, I don't know, everything about that movie is just really heartwarming to me. It gives me a lot of joy to like rewatch that and be like, oh, no, this still absolutely holds up today in 2021.
Mine's super obscure. It's when they're trying to make the potion and the dentist pulls the tooth of the vampire.
Yes.
I don't know what it was about that moment. I was like, God, that's so satisfying, which I guess now makes sense because I'm into all sorts of like, I can watch like surgery videos and like pimple popping videos and all that stuff. I'm into it. So, but just something about the way they like pulled the tooth, I was like, oh, that vampire must feel so much better.
You really felt for her. She had a lot of empathy.
I did. I was like, oh, that poor tooth was so sore. How could she eat?
Oh
like, I don't know.
That's
so
amazing. Yeah, no, it's a great movie. And I don't know if you feel the same way I do. I think you enjoy them. I do not. I don't like scary movies. I don't want to watch scary movies. I don't want any nightmares.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I can do certain scary movies. And again, from a makeup artist perspective, I am able to look beyond it. But there are certain scary movies I just refuse to watch. Period. I'm like, I am not interested. Anything where they do the jump scares, I think that's not real thrill. I do like 13 Ghosts. And I only like that movie because the makeup is so beautifully done. And I mean, really, the artist must have taken a very long time to do each of those characters. So, as a general rule, no. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was convinced this guy was like still alive at one point. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to like murder me. And like, cause you know, I was watching, I think I was watching with my brother or something. He's like, yeah, they never caught the guy. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, and I was young. So
yeah, of course. No,
your mind tends to convince you. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, he's still out there.
No, I cannot do scary at all. If I stay awake because of that scary movie, because I'm definitely thinking that killer is coming to my house. No way. Say. So I don't watch literally anything scary. Like anything that you think is not scary, and I've seen it, like Nightmare Before Christmas, you love, but it scared me as a kid. It was frightening. So now I have adverse reactions to it where I'll still watch it and be like, I don't enjoy this. This still gives me like creepy feelings.
Makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah. You know, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. I know it's a lot of people's favorite, but there's just something about, like, I think because I watched it young and it scared me that now I still have creepy crawlies about it. So no scary movies for me.
I get it. I mean, you can at least appreciate the stop motion animation of it though.
Yes, of course I
Okay,
can.
so then that's the only, as long as you can appreciate the artistry behind it, you don't have to actively watch scary movies to appreciate the art behind it all.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'll go as far as like Practical Magic, which is a great movie with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. I think basically as scary as I could go. And it's really not that scary, but it's a great movie.
It's a great movie. We should do a Halloween marathon now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh, I already told Miguel, I was like, dude, when are we recording this? What's today's date? The 11th? I was like, we're 11 days late. We have not watched a single Halloween movie.
So
we're doing it wrong. I know. We're doing a staycation this weekend, and I think we'll probably get a bunch of Halloween movies taken care of, is my guess.
Love it.
We'll see. So then My question for you, Miss Stephanie, is what is your favorite Halloween candy? What would you go crazy for when you would trick or treat?
100 grand bars. I don't know if you've ever heard of those.
Oh,
They're like
yeah.
kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like obscure, but it's not something that I think any child, because mostly it's like Snickers, M&Ms, Twix bars. And I was like 100 grand bars. Like I was, like a 90-year-old gentleman. But
I love it.
I loved the way it was like crunchy, but then I think there's caramel and nougat in it. And it's just so good.
You were more excited for the chocolatey pieces in your bag.
That, and I really, really still to this day love the apple caramel pops.
I don't know if I've ever had that.
Yeah, you can get them at the dollar store. It's like a caramel dipped apple.
Oh, okay.
And it's both mixed into a lollipop. And there's something about it that's like tangy, but then also a little bit, savory kind of. It's very good. I like them a lot.
Okay. So I mean, if the house was giving out king size candy bars, you better believe I was there. I mean,
oh my God, yes.
You marked that house to make sure that you would go back. But I'm still a huge gummy fan. I love gummies. So Sour Patch Kids are where it's at for me. I mean, if I'm getting sour candy, I'm a happy person. Even as a 30-year-old woman, my tongue hates me when I eat sour candy because it like breaks it up and does all that terrible stuff now that I'm older, but I can down that stuff.
Oh yeah. And sweet tarts.
Oh, see, no, not a huge fan of like just the pure sugar.
No, sweet tarts for me, anything that had some sort of like a tang to it. I forget what that's called, but it's a powder that's mixed into those candies. So if you're making candy at home and you want to add that, it's that like, I guess almost like the like lemony taste. Yeah. So that, and I really liked Warheads.
How many could you put in your mouth at once?
I don't know. My brother and I used to do competitions to see, and I would say probably the max I've ever done was like 5.
Yeah, I would be able to put a lot in. I love sour candy is where it is at, and Warheads are so good. Did you have a favorite flavor of them? Which color?
Yeah, it was white.
White?
Yeah, it was like a limited edition one. I remember it being white. I could be wrong. It could maybe have been blue or something, but I remember it being white.
I don't remember a white one, and I'm sad that I never had it. I really enjoyed, anything blue for me, especially when I was growing up, was huge because I loved the color blue. So I loved the blue raspberry ones, but the black cherry, I think it was.
That's what it was. It was not the white one. It was black.
Those were so good. They were just the green apple. Now I'm just salivating thinking about all those delicious Warhead flavors. But yeah, those are incredible. So then my last question for you for this lovely spooktacular Halloween special episode is, do you have any traditions that you like to do on Halloween?
It's been a really long time. And I will tell you, I think just as the years have gone by, I've lost that childlike spirit when it comes to Halloween. Because as you all may know, I am a makeup artist. So I frequently work on that date or the date before. So I always made a joke at a certain point. I was working so often that I would say I'm a makeup artist for Halloween. So that has been more my tradition, is just doing makeup. But the one tradition I would like to start bringing back is carving a pumpkin. That is, to me, that was what kind of signified Halloween. And like, I don't know, there's something very romantic about having that pumpkin and putting the candlelight and like watching the sunset. And you kind of just see all of the pumpkins on people's lawns. And especially when I was younger, it was really big. You would see pumpkins outside, and I don't know, it was like those were like the little spirits in the bodies of these pumpkins coming to life. So
I love it.
Definitely got to bring that back because it's been a while.
Well, then we should carve some pumpkins.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. A little cat pumpkin.
When you come back, I guess that's what we have to do.
I'm in. How about you?
So going trick-or-treating. I used to go trick-or-treating all the time. Like I said, it's not really a thing anymore. I think trunk-or-treating is more a thing. But ever since Miguel and I got together, we've always had a Halloween party. Last year, because of COVID, it was outside, totally masked. It was great. We had very, very few people. And that was really fun to be able to at least keep up with that tradition. And this year, I think we'll do one again. I'm not sure if we'll do it outside or just have vaccinated humans inside. Still not sure, but being able to dress up with your friends and be an adult and like have everybody bring something and like make little goodie bags. You are as old as you think you are. So I still want to be a child in some respects and not lose that part of myself. I love dressing up. I love having fun. I love being with my friends and playing board games and our Jackbox games, which, by the way, a new pack comes out in 4 days. So we'll have a new pack for Halloween, which I'm so excited about. And being able to, like, I don't know, continue that tradition on with my pets, but then eventually Miguel and my children. I think that's pretty special. I'm excited. I mean, this is my favorite time of year.
It's mine as well, which, shocking. Is anybody surprised we both have the same favorite time of year?
I think the best people like Halloween.
I loved all the questions that you asked. It's giving me some nostalgia. I think when we're done here, I'm going to
watch some Halloween Town.
Little Halloween Town, a little spooky shopping, and really just start to bring the spirit to life because, man, there's nothing like it. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves deeply and spookily, and I certainly hope you sync up with us next time. Woo!
That was a good ghost.
Thank you.
That
that?
was good.
I was a ghost in my other life.